This Reverend's mic going. Reverend's mic going. You hear me? Going. You hear me?
Welcome back to this U.S. Open office plan.
Miller just
Back to this U.S. Open office plan.
Miller just Come, seeker, come, traveler, come, all humankind, online or in person, whomever you love.
Come. Come and be welcome at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Cheyenne. Here, we are building a community of refuge where all have equal worth and are invited into spiritual exploration as a foundation for hope, compassionate service, and action.
This is a place where questions are encouraged, a place with room for all of who you are.
This is a place full of works in progress, a place for being human together.
Welcome. It's good to be here.
Settle in and exhale. This is a time for community.
Good morning. I'm Elaine Hayes, and I'm on the board. And I'd like to welcome you to this church where we are on a shared journey to find meaning, connection, and community together. If you're new to us, please fill out a blue visitor card and drop it in the offering basket so we can share information about our activities and help you find what nourishes your spirit here. You'll also find note cards in your pew for writing down joys and sorrows to add to our pastoral prayer. We pass an additional basket alongside the offering to gather these. Write your name or leave your joy or sorrow anonymous. You can also write "Do not share" if you have a need to share with the minister, but do not want it spoken aloud in prayer. We have many activities and events happening each week in the congregation and community. Let me tell you about a couple of things which are coming up soon. And of course, the first thing we have to mention that in just 2 weeks, on April 6th, we have the service auction. Good news, we're still taking donations of either your goods or your services. We're still looking for volunteers. You can sign up in the lobby if you'd like to help on the auction day. We still want you to come, and of course, we still want you to come. Questions, comments, concerns, contact Abby Kircher, Marcy Lindy, Emily Smith, or Jennifer Goodwin. Okay. Okay. Of course, next week is Easter Sunday. We will be celebrating Easter and Trans Day of Visibility together in joy, and there will be an egg hunt following worship. We have religious education today, and we have religious education classes for 5 to 12-year-olds downstairs at 11 a.m. following worship, so we will sing the kids out later. Mark your calendars for April 14th for our next congregational forum for envisioning our church future together. We gather in person and on Zoom each week. Here we gather our resources to sustain the work of this church and to share our abundance with community organizations, broadening the reach of our values. You can find the text to give number in your order of service, or use your Realm app for electronic giving, or your Share the Plate offerings and pledges may also be dropped in the baskets in a few moments as they pass. Our Share the Plate partner for the month of March is WyoFile. And I don't have someone to talk about WyoFile today, but I did have a couple of things that I wanted to tell you about. Hold on, I've got to bring it up here, of course. If you don't know about WyoFile, WyoFile is an independent news, member-supported public interest news service reporting on the people, places, and policy of Wyoming. It is a 501(c) nonprofit and a member of the Institute for Nonprofit News. Their mission is to inform and engage Wyoming through in-depth reporting in the public interest. And It's totally free to sign up and read their news, but they would appreciate, of course, donations. Okay, I think that's it. Had several things to do, so that's all on my agenda. Thank you.
Encourage you to give generously toward the work of this church and our wider community.
My hands are strong enough, they're strong enough, I'm good enough. My hands are strong enough to give love. I know that my hands are strong enough, they're strong enough, I'm good enough. My hands are strong enough to give love. I know that my hands are strong enough, they're strong enough, I'm good enough. My hands are strong enough to give love. I know that my hands are strong enough, they're strong enough, I'm good enough. My hands are strong enough to give love.
Today's call to worship is a little participatory. It's a responsive reading. So I invite you to join me in the refrain that welcomes and affirms us all. You are beloved, and you are welcome here. So let's try it. You are beloved, and you are welcome here. Whether tears have fallen from your eyes this past week, or gleeful laughter has spilled out of your smiling mouth, you are beloved and you are welcome here. Whether you are feeling brave or brokenhearted, defiant or defeated, fearsome or fearful, you are beloved and you are welcome here. Whether you have untold stories buried deep inside, or stories that have been forced beyond the edges of comfort, you are beloved and you are welcome here. Whether you have made promises, broken promises, or are renewing your promises, you are beloved and you are welcome here. Whatever is on your heart, however it is with your soul in this moment, you are beloved and you are welcome here. In this space of welcome and acceptance, of commitment and recommitment, of covenant and connection, let us turn to one another and look at someone in love as we say, you are beloved and you are welcome here. So let us worship together. For our opening hymn, I invite you to look at your gray hymnals and rise in body or in spirit to join us in singing number 16, "'Tis a Gift to Be Simple." Some of our lovely congregants will help us in leading this hymn. I invite you all to sing out.
Find ourselves in the closest right. Be the valley of love and delight. When true simplicity is gained, all the land we shall be ashamed. Will be our delight till by turning we come around right.
Today's chalice reading is Enough by Andrew DeFay. You are enough. Divinity flows in your fingertips with light so radiant every beat of your heart, a victory march made of whole universes stitched by the hands of creation with flawless design, a prophecy you fulfill perfectly with every breath. You. The sun wouldn't shine the same without it. Creation is only wanting for you to smile back at it. Do you see it yet? You are enough for the birds to sing about, for the seeds to sprout about, for the stars to shoot about. Do you see it yet? Gardens in your speech, fields of wildflowers in your prayers, lighthouses in your eyes. No one else can see it for you. You have always been enough. You will always be enough. Your simple act of being is enough. Do you see it yet? If the young or young at heart would like to join me on the chancel at this time, we invite you to share in the leadership of speaking our covenant in unison before the time for all ages. The words to our covenant may be found in the inside cover of your order of worship.
Make sure that I can actually be heard. There we go. It would be so lovely to have you all with me. And if you would like to bring Jenkin, our helpful religious education piglet, or any of his friends up, you are welcome to do that as well. Yeah, thank you. This one is Jenkin. And Jenkin and all of you can help with leading our first words. If you'd like to look at them, they're right up here. They start, love is the spirit of this church, and service its cause. This is our covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek truth, and to help others. And then I'm going to sit right up here. If you'd like to sit with me on a step or down on the floor, you are very welcome. We're going to tell a little story. So, would you like to hold Jenkin nice and close so that everyone can hear? So this story is called The Holy Man, and it comes from a Zen Buddhist tradition. Now, Zen Buddhists like to tell you a story that has a really interesting lesson in it, but they don't tell you what the lesson is. They let you think about it and guess what it might be that's so important. Oh, you might have. We've told a few Buddhist stories here, and some families like to tell Zen Buddhist stories even as bedtime stories or with kiddos. So you might have. In this story, there was a person, maybe about your age, or maybe about my age. But whatever age that person was, they were searching for wisdom, searching for interesting things to learn, searching for the meaning of life. Have you ever been searching to learn new things? Maybe you get bored and you want to open a book or look at a YouTube video about science, or just go outside and watch the flowers bloom. Those are the kinds of things that this person was doing. But everywhere they looked, they just didn't quite find what they were looking for. And so they decided to go on a huge journey. They traveled far and wide and heard of a holy man who was supposed to be the wisest person in all the land. So they hiked, and they tromped, and they trudged, and they climbed over mountains, and they splashed through streams, and finally, they got to the grand house where this holy man was supposed to live, and knocked on the door and said, "I am searching for wisdom. I am searching for a holy man." And the person that opened the door, who looked like an old servant, maybe a butler, like from an old British show, said, and showed this seeker into the house. And they walked through room after room, through the parlor and the dining room, the living room, the kitchen. They even looked in the bathroom. They even looked in the bedroom under the bed. And when they'd been to every room in the house, the servant showed him right out the back door. And he stood on the stoop. And the seeker stood on the stoop as well and said, "But I haven't seen the holy man, not anywhere." And the butler said, "You have seen all that there is to see. In all your travels, you have met the holy man, perhaps in everyone you meet." And then he closed the door. And that is the end of our story. So I'm going to leave you all with a wondering about what we might learn about who is holy and wise, and where we might find learning from the people in our lives. Thank you for listening to this story. If you would like to put Jenkin and his friends back where they can see and hear, you can, or you can use them as company for your worship service. And we'll see you again in religious education. Until that time, you can head to your parents and caregivers. Because now is the time that we join together in prayer. So, if you'll take a breath, and we'll join in a meditative spirit, a prayerful spirit, opening our hearts. Spirit of life, spirit of love. We gather each week to be with one another. We hope to support each other, to be a comfort in hard times, to celebrate with one another our joys and excitement, to dwell together in the wonder and the mystery of this magnificent and ever-changing life. Today, our joy is found in all those who served our 66 guests at Kaumea last night, Mike and Margot and Mark and Lori. Thank you. It is by the work of so many in this congregation and in this wider community that people are fed and that love is shared. For this, we are grateful. Today, we send healing energy to a friend getting tested for colon cancer this week. Today, we send our loving energy to those struggling with physical and mental illnesses, with grief, with hardship and uncertainty in life. Today, our prayers reach out to the places in the world where there is turbulence, war, hunger, where there is unrest, where people are in fear. May love prevail in this world. Today, we offer up a sincere gratitude, for next week will be the last week that our accompanist, Chris Golden, will be performing for us in our Easter service. We'll have a gratitude celebration for Pris. We'll have a thank you card or two available for you to write well wishes and notes of gratitude during this week's coffee hour so that they're ready for her next week. If you would like to add gratitudes, additional cards, bring cupcakes, or in any other way express the many years of wonderful music that Pris has gifted this church with, we highly encourage that for next week. And Pris, if you're listening on Zoom, pretend it's still a surprise. We are so grateful for all the wonderful music that we have been gifted with, and for all those who are collaborating to make sure that our congregation is still blessed with the gift of music, even as Pris moves to a different stage in her relationship with our congregation. And so, may we also acknowledge the changing times, the blooming crocuses outside, the daffodils which opened just a couple days ago, the ways in which the earth is bursting forth life and hope, the ways in which the winter's grasp is not yet relinquished. May we give thanks for this ever-changing earth that reminds us of the rhythms and cycles of life, and hold room in our hearts for all the joys still unshared and the sorrows too tender to be spoken aloud. May we find in this space peace, comfort, and community which enfolds us. Amen, and blessed be.
Don't Argue with Salvation by Alex Jensen. Don't argue with salvation when it arrives on your shores. Don't try to dismiss it or deny it. Give it your undivided attention. Don't be ashamed of how or why or when you found it. Your journey here has been sacred. Greet salvation as an old welcomed guest. Meet it not with fanfare or pomp. Instead, put the kettle on to boil, pull up a chair, and let it speak life to you. Find the tender parts of your body and soul that are warmed by its words. Vertical swaths of paint in deep blue and indigos on the wall. Don't argue when it arrives at your door. Bid it wide welcome. Don't be ashamed of where the path has led. Don't be embarrassed from all the detours or missed plans. Don't be shy about what it is that feeds you, that nourishes you, refreshes your soul. Don't be ashamed with how it greets you. Instead, welcoming it in its warm embrace. How could you be anything different? Don't argue with salvation when it stirs in your heart, when it brings you to act for others, when it calls you to street corners and picket lines. Don't question it too harshly, to the point of missing it as it passes through. Relish it with every glimpse. Savor it with every taste of hope and good news. Don't be afraid to bring that blessed good news to others. Let your beautiful body carry its light through, though heavy, burden. Don't be afraid when its saving power destroys just as much as it rebuilds, uplifts, and renews. Don't argue with salvation when you least expect it, in an empty parking lot, on the kitchen floor, in the eyes and arms of a beloved. Don't try too hard to count its many ways. They are immeasurable. Don't exhaust yourself with naming it in words that fail to grasp it with loose fingers. Surrender those moments when you find yourself in its presence. Yield to it with an open clay heart ready for molding. Don't try to shut it out too soon or run too far from it. It won't make you stay. Indeed, it can't. But it wishes to welcome you home. Don't argue with salvation when it saves your life, when it harbors your soul from great pain and harm, when it stays with you in the midst of a storm. Don't give up on it too soon if it arrives a bit later than expected. I promise it's working on it. Don't be too angry with it if it doesn't look like you'd expect. Love it as you love your best self. Love it as your worst self. We could all use more grace. Serve it with all of your heart, mind, soul, and strength. Don't worry about its fragility. If it truly can take or bear the trials ahead of you and already in your midst, it's so much stronger than you think.
And we'll remain seated as we look in our teal hymnal for a shared centering, number 1053. We'll sing this together twice through. I'm going to correct myself. Let's go for 3 times through, because I think that first time you're going to be very focused on what the notes are. And so these next 2 times after that will be more meditative. So let's sing together. How could anyone ever tell you you were anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you were less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul. How could anyone ever tell you you were anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you were less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul. How could anyone ever tell you you were anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you were less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul. Thank you. Now you're all well practiced for singing it next week as well to one another. You are enough. Buddhism, as our initial story comes from that tradition, Buddhism speaks to the problems of desire, to how continued wanting of something else, of some future time, can lead to suffering again and again. Let us be clear. Buddhism is not telling us that injustice is fine or we should be apathetic to our life. Instead, the message is that being in our present moment can amplify what is sufficient, how we and this space are enough, instead of endlessly grasping at what has happened in the past, at what may come in the future, finding a place where we are aware of having enough, of being enough. This can be hard for human beings. In a Christian tradition, oftentimes salvation is talked about as an imagined future, even an after-death promise. In Alex Jensen's piece about salvation, Alex, my colleague, asks us to accept salvation wherever, whenever it occurs, to let ourselves be saved here and now, with each other in this life as Unitarian Universalists. We are people coming from many spiritual backgrounds, traveling down many paths of spiritual meaning, looking for ultimate purpose, looking for what is meaningful and divine. And sometimes it can be hard to name what salvation is, perhaps hard to get away from messages in your past, from traditions that told you that you were not enough, that salvation was only external and far away. Salvation is defined as preservation or deliverance from harm. And it can be a reality for us now. In the Buddhist tradition, there's a parable. It asks us to imagine a man escaping from a tiger who runs and runs and falls off a cliff, catching hold of a fine piece of a thin and barely rooted vine on his way over the edge. With a tiger above and a vast chasm below, he takes a moment, takes a breath, and sees that there is a strawberry growing just in front of his face. And so he plucks it and eats it. And the story never fails to mention that it was delicious. What we are being asked to do is not to solve everything that could happen in the future, not to find our escape from the past, but to love ourselves, love one another, and to savor what is happening in this moment, to let it be good enough for now, to let ourselves feel safe enough to try what could be good. Perhaps this moment could be delicious.
I've got more than enough sunshine on my face, and it's smiling down on me, and it's good and warm and free. I've got more than enough sunshine on my face. I've got more than enough notes to write a song. I've got more than enough notes to write a song, and they're floating on the breeze, hear them whisper through the leaves. I've got more than enough notes to write a song. I've got more than enough love to fill my heart. I've got more than enough love to fill my heart. let it be. You can see it on my face. I feel the love that's and I am the love. Today is gonna be an amazing day. I've got more than today is gonna be an amazing day. I've got more than today is gonna be a day on my bed. Let it be, and it's mine. I feel the love. Good, I am the love. Today is gonna be an amazing day.
Choose to Bless the World by Rebecca Ann Parker. Your gifts, whatever you discover them to be, can be used to bless or curse the world. The mind's power, the strength of the hands, the reaches of the heart, the gift of speaking, listening, imagining, seeing, waiting. Any of these can serve to feed the hungry, bind up wounds, welcome a stranger, praise what is sacred, do the work of justice, or offer love. Any of these can draw down the prison door, hoard bread, abandon the poor, obscure what is holy, comply with injustice, or withhold love. You must answer this question. What will you do with your gifts? Choose to bless the world. The choice to bless the world is more than an act of will, a moving forward into the world with the intention of doing good. It is an act of recognition, a confession of surprise, a grateful acknowledgement that in the midst of a broken world, unspeakable beauty, grace, and mystery abide. There is an embrace of kindness that encompasses all life, even yours. And while there is injustice, anesthetization, evil, there moves a holy disturbance, a benevolent rage, a revolutionary love, protesting, urging, insisting that which is sacred will not be defiled. Those who bless the world live their life as a gesture of thanks for this beauty and this rage. The choice to bless the world can take you into solitude to search for the sources of power and grace, native wisdom, healing, and liberation. More, the choice will draw you into community, the endeavor shared, the heritage passed on, the companionship of struggle, the importance of keeping faith, the life of ritual and praise, the comfort of human friendship, the chorus of earth, the chorus of life welcoming you. None of us alone can save the world. Together, that is another possibility waiting.
We each have a little light in us, our core selves. Many traditions call it the soul or the divine, the spark within. In Proverbs 20, verse 27, from our Jewish heritage, we hear the soul of a human is the candle of God. We can nurture that spark into a full glow, letting it reflect off of others, revealing their own blessed selves. Or we may cover it with our uncertainty and bank that flame, bury it deep for another day. The Christian theologian Howard Thurman said, "Don't ask what the world needs. Ask what makes you come alive. And go do it, because what the world needs is people who have come alive." Dolly Parton, another wise thinker, once told her audience, "You need to find out who you are and do it on purpose." Many of us spend a lot of time figuring out what kinds of identities might make us fit in, make us be cool earlier in our lives, signal to others, "I'm normal, don't you worry about little old me." And then we find out later in life, we could have been using all that time learning to stand out and doing what we love, instead of learning to blend so our light doesn't shine too brightly and make us overly noticeable. I was an awkward child, I think I've mentioned. I might be an awkward adult. I often tried not to be too much. I was the kid in the corner with the book. The word of the 80s and 90s, when I grew up, was to be cool. Not too cold, not too hot, just cool. But I am not a cool person, and I don't want to be. I don't want any of you to be cool either. I want you to be vibrant. I want you to sparkle when you tell me what you're excited about. I want you to be your best selves. So what if instead of being cool, we used this sacred space, used our congregational community as a practice space for being boldly kind, for caring about the things that bring us joy, caring for one another and the world deeply, unapologetically, doing what makes us happy and excited? What if we had those conversations? What if we knew that Janet loves to cook good food and asked her about some recipes? Or that Sharon, back there in the back, is wise and strong and loves horses? That Lauren has had an amazing life and loves to be with our youth, to teach and learn. That Josh is great with our technology. That Jed is kind and a good dancer. What if we asked each other what makes us come alive? I think we could name something that makes us sparkle, every one of us. So what if we did that, expressed our emotions honestly, trusted that this place is safe enough, beautiful enough, that our divine core can just shine, no? Today in the Jewish calendar is Purim. It's a fun and funny holiday. It's a festival of being silly in the face of danger. Sometimes in Wyoming, it's easy to feel alone. There's wide open spaces and the wind blows. But Purim is a remembrance of a genocide that was planned to wipe out the Jewish people of Persia, but it's not a holiday for weeping and lament, not even for reminding one another of the fear of a near miss. It's a holiday whose message is, when the going gets tough, the tough get silly. At Purim, it's a mitzvah, a blessing, to wear costumes, to cross-dress, to put on glittery garb and be foolish, to enjoy the moment, to express joy in over-the-top ways. Because in the face of danger, refusing to be sad or fearful, enjoying the moment as a group, having a party for all that we are, is worthy of all that is good. So take a breath. Think of a way that you are, that you love. Something you might want to share in conversation. Maybe at coffee hour. Maybe make a goal to tell someone something that makes you excited. To ask someone, what makes you shine? Share your talent, your enthusiasm, your joy, your silliness, and your vibrance with someone else. Because life is uncertain. We are all mortal. And so that parable of dangling off a cliff, that vine you are grasping may break at any moment, because that's the reality of a finite life. But every day, you are meeting holy and wise teachers. So today, notice the people around you who are divine. Notice that you are divine. Eat the strawberry and notice that it is delicious. So if you'll rise in body or in spirit, our closing hymn comes from the Jewish tradition. It's number 399, The Vine and Fig Tree. And it can be sung as a round. We're going to sing it in unison 3 times through. Everyone neath a vine and fig tree shall live in peace and unafraid. And everyone neath a vine and fig tree shall live in peace and unafraid. Part 2. And into plowshares turn their swords, nations shall learn war no more. And into plowshares turn their swords, nations shall learn war no more. And everyone neath the vine and fig tree shall live in peace and unafraid. And everyone neath the vine and fig tree shall live in peace and unafraid. And to plowshares turn their swords, nations shall learn war no more. And to plowshares turn their swords, nations shall learn war no more. And the vine and fig tree shall live in peace and unafraid. And everyone neath a vine and fig tree shall live in peace and unafraid.
Please remain standing as we extinguish our chalice flame, sending forth our children with Reverend Elizabeth to carry the flame as they continue their religious education in the Rainbow Room downstairs. Can our chalice flame carrier come up and get the electric candle as we speak together the words in our order of service?
And I'm not sure that we assign a brave young person who would like to take our journey. Come on up. We would love to hear.
Extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. Peace be buried within our hearts until we together again. And now I invite you to turn toward the center aisle as we sing out our children to their class and with the words printed on the back of your worship insert. Children, together as we go, the lessons we have learned together, to seek the light of truth, to tend the fire of caring, always returning to the warmth of this unity. Our benediction today is from A Return to Love by Marianne Williamson. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that others won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. We are born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. As we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. Go forth and bless the world with your whole and liberated spirit. Blessed be.